And I'm not playing no games. Yeah.
Well, greetings and salutations, all of you. If you are awake this early in the States, good morning. But if you are somewhere else in the world, all the way from Japan, we have Gray from Wakizashi'S Teahouse with us again. Thank you, my friend. It's evening there, and it's awesome to talk comic books across the globe, my friend.
Yes, it is. Thanks so much for having me back on, Pops. It's been a while, but I still watch you. I watch you in the morning, my time. I like your streams with Stone Loki and Ironcaster. They've been a lot of fun. So yeah, but great to be here, and looking forward to talking comics.
Yeah, and I because I hadn't read a lot of the issues that you had been talking about, I was hesitant to watch a lot of your videos because I really wanted to try to have more like the honest look at it first. And now I've caught up on like just a few. I didn't have the one app, so I just got the one app. So now I'm able to like, catch up on some of the DC stuff. And so yeah, we'll talk a little Amazing Spider-Man, the newer version with Wells and Romita Jr., and then we'll jump over to the Chip Zdarsky run on Batman. And I do think it's interesting that maybe I'm wrong because you've been reading a lot more modern comic books than me, and these are not the only two titles. I have read a few other things over the last couple weeks. I see a lot of them kind of steering back towards more of a mainstream storytelling. Like I see less politics, less Berkeley art school, less. I'm seeing less of that. Now maybe I've just lucked into a few of them. I don't know. Is it? I mean, obviously, I think it's way too early to get excited or anything like that. But Grady, you see that because you've been doing this last couple of years. You see much of a shift in your opinion, or?
A small one, I would say, a small one, and it depends on what you read, doesn't it, Pops? I limit myself to Batman from DC and Spider-Man from Marvel. That's about it. I keep hearing about it's still there, especially in a lot of the X-Men titles. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, it's saturated in the X-Men titles, right? It's what I've heard. It's just been
The latest one that I saw from DC was that awful relaunch of Tim Drake Robin, written by some terrible writer, Megan something or other, can't even remember her name, and they just emphasize his bisexualness, his gayness. That's the story. That's his personality now.
Yeah, I didn't read the issue. We did a little breakdown of how bad the art was. I had Megan Noob Reviews on, and I showed her the pictures because she hadn't seen it. And I had sent her some '90s Robin, right? Because she's she's new at this, right? And it wasn't anything special, but it was like to give her a little bit. And I think I said her one of those terrible annuals. Remember how bad some of the annuals were in the '90s? I said you have to have some compare and contrast. You know, you can't live in this lie like all of it was good. Let me send you one of these. So there was like a Robin annual. So, but I remember I tweeted her the photos. So I'm going to talk about this tonight. And she goes, "What am I looking at?" And I went, "That's the same Robin in the comic books I sent you." And she just kind of like, "Yeah, what on earth is happening?" Yeah. So, and you mentioned Ironcaster at our show on Tuesday, Talk Hard. Ironcaster was in the show. So I did. There's a way to make this landscape work for a short. Now, I haven't figured that out yet, but I put it up as a short because it was funny. He had a comment that the art for Tim Drake is so bad it looks like a sponge that wasn't wrung out yet. And I was like, oh my gosh. It's so distorted and like doesn't look right. Like stuff's just wrong with it. Right, it's just messed up. So
you feel a little bit mean to say myself because I'm not that good an artist at all. But it's a guy called Riley Rossmo, and he has a very distinctive, shall we say, style, which I think is better suited to indie comics. If you know what I mean, it suits an indie story, but it's not for a mainstream DC title like a Batman or a Robin title. But that's just my opinion, Pops. And if I say that on Twitter, you know what happened there.
I actually tweeted at the guy and asked him to respond to me.
Oh, nice.
So that's in my video. There's a little clip out there of the Tim Drake response guy. And I basically just kind of left it. I just said thanks. But it was very clear because he didn't want to say it, but he danced all around. I think he refers to Dick as having like a classic look. And Damien with like a more of a juvenile look, and then so basically he was trying to say Tim's got the gay look, but he didn't want to say that. But that's what he was trying to say. He was like dancing all around. If I wanted him to be, the boyfriend's in like weird skinny jeans, and it's all pastel. It's Berkeley Art School. It's Berkeley Art School. It's kind of like the stereotype that we use here in the States now. It's like the perfect way to describe that. What used to end up at indie, and now it's in mainstream. and it's So you're right. I mean, I guess maybe I'm getting overzealous because I've looked into a couple. And we probably can go to Spider-Man first because I think that's where we'll be most divided, and that's probably the most fun, right? Let's talk about what we disagree with because I remember I watched your review when you did it, and you loved it. You were like, "Oh, this is really a lot of fun. This is really interesting. This is something." And I was like, "Holy crap! You mean they're going to do Spider-Man right again?" Like I was just sort of like kind of in shock. Like I actually was kind of like, "You got to be kidding me!" Now, I didn't want to give them my money. But I was like, all right, well, I'm going to put that in my memory bank. I'm going to come back around to that at some point. And I remember, I don't know if I messaged you or I commented, and I think I just said, what is with the cover? Because that may not be the best way to express his web slinging. And then I realized it's JR Jr. Like, what on earth? It's his cover. What on earth has he done? So I made a few issues in. I think I'm in first. I think I read 5. I don't know. I kind of stopped. And fortunately, it keeps track of where you are. So if I'm off by a page or two. But I read the first few. And I will admit, what I do like about it is that we're dealing with like street level crime. Tombstone is the bad guy. Some other things sprinkled in. It's not complicated, so it's easy to jump into and take. Obviously, that second cover, which is funny because I don't think that's the issue that is kind of brought out. I think the other issues is where that
nothing about that cover in that issue.
they don't match. That look that you see with Mary Jane and Peter is just not in that issue, but it is in the story, just not in that issue. It's completely duplicitous. But I divided fans. I think they did it on purpose to sell books. Right, that cover's made to sell books. Yeah, I don't know.
Bit of controversy always sells, doesn't it, Pops? Always. It gets people talking about it. Even if they're angry, they're still talking about it.
Did you? Because and obviously you don't. If you don't want spoilers, guys. I don't know why this book's been out for a minute, so like I'm not spoiling anything that's new. So, but yeah, there you are. Spoilers abound always on Pops. I'm not going to be spoiler free. Do you think it was weird that they just dropped the story and it's like? So my hardest thing was I couldn't relate to where I'm at in the story because Peter's been beat up. Something has happened to him. And then I'm in a story where Mary Jane's moved on and has a couple kids. And I'm like, holy crap, I don't understand what's happening. Like there was just a weird placement of how they wanted to tell the story. And for a number 1 issue, that didn't work for me. Like that was the one piece. I'm like, I don't. And they constantly keep going back to little things, but they never told me what was going on.
No, it's really annoying, Pops, and this is what has upset a lot of people. Zeb Wells opened with a mystery box. Now, we're getting tired of the mystery box theme, aren't we, in movies and comics now? But as you say, Peter on the first page is like on his knees. His costume is all ripped and torn. It looks like he's sat in a crater, like some huge explosion. And then it goes 6 months later, and we're catching up, and we've no idea what's happened. Issue 12 came out yesterday. I've read it. It's good, but there's still nothing about what happened. It's
been a year. So a comic a month. We're like a year into this, and we still don't exactly know what's going on. Does this come out every other week?
Sorry, because they're bringing out 2 a month, which has been a big problem for the regular artist. I don't know why they do that. I hate the 2 a month thing. So it's 6 months into the run.
Okay. Well, I mean. It's a little bit faster, but still, you're talking about 12 issues. People have been invested. Exactly. I don't know, was it $3 or $4 an issue, right? So you figure, that's. I don't know.
You said you got up to issue 5, so you've not seen what happens because it goes crazy, Pops. They do an anniversary issue for I think the next one, issue 6, and it's a very different story. It's like a one and done story, which is actually very good. Then a couple of issues later, they drop in an Axe Judgment Day kind of link-up thing, which is talking about a story that happened 3 months ago in a different comic. And then there's another fill-in issue. It's like, oh my God, what is going on? We're losing the continuity of the main story, so people are getting really annoyed about that.
All right, and to make this worse, so again. I will count everything I'm saying as pretty much nitpicky because I will count this story as average. The art is fine. It's inconsistent at times. I'll get to that later and talk about the art. Yeah. Okay. It's not bad, but it's inconsistent. But the story is average. But the issues are like that. Like the continuity was the first thing. I don't quite understand what's going on. We can't start with the number 1 issue and not you have baggage, but I don't know why, and then you drug it out. I'm now on issue 5. I still have no idea what's going on. Like Black Cat shows up, she's referring it to it like, I know you've been through a lot. Well, the audience doesn't know the reader doesn't know what's going on. So,
everybody knows except us, the readers.
Any of you let us know on what's going on? Because none of us know. This is also strange for me, and I know I'm a bit of a prude. I know I'm a Christian. I got it. A lot of cursing, like a little word here, no, it's all blurbed out, right? It's like all the little characters. It's not like actual curse words.
Yeah,
but it's like a lot of that. Like growing up, like a curse word was rare, but it would be like someone's injured, like someone's fallen off a cliff, and it's like, oh, and it's like all the little symbols. Okay, fair enough. But now it's like just they just talk that way to each other. Like it was just like, why is this in a Spider-Man book? And actually, this is an issue I have with other books as well, which seemed to be more like, even if it wasn't an adult comic book, it was something driven clearly towards a certain type of adult fan. Whereas I would think Amazing Spider-Man would be a crossover book that should be trying to get into Walmart, right? It should be trying to get into a convenience store. It should be the one that they're trying to really get to 100,000 copies or whatever. Like that should be the one. But it's like you're turning off a bunch of people. Like if I bought this for like my 8-year-old, actually I can give you an example, Gray. You'll appreciate this. Free comic book day. Back in the day, my boys were like 6, right? My boys are little, 6 and 7. We'd just gone to like a Comic-Con. So they were into like doing something. My one's like liking to draw. And you know how we were when we were boys. If one friend drew, everyone wants to draw. So they're all,
I remember that.
Free comic book day. So we're going to buy there and grab something, right? They get Ultimate Wolverine versus Hulk. I'm like, cool cover. All right, Wolverine and Hulk are pretty cool. I go to look at it. The opening sequence is Hulk grabbing Wolverine and tearing him in 2 pieces and throwing them in opposite directions.
Wow.
Like, this is free comic book day? You gave this to like 6-year-olds? Like, okay, hold on. Wait, we've lost the script a little bit, right? That was in the mid 2000s. So now I fast forward to a Spider-Man book where you're like, this should be the book that I thought Amazing Spider-Man 1. It's got like the classic feel to it. Romita's art is perfect for that kind of feel. And then there are some of those kinds of, and then like I said, the continuity issue is a problem because I don't quite follow it.
No.
And I kid you not, I was going to try to open it, but you know how some of the apps and stuff work on a computer versus your
don't
phone.
Worry about it.
Well, I wanted to find it because I wanted to show everyone because I actually made a note of it. It drove me out of my mind. I was so angry.
Oh, you've got me curious now. What is it?
They have editor notes, right? Editor notes date back since the beginning, right? See issue number 3 or see last issue, Stan. These are classic elements to comic book reading, right? To keep everyone up there. And to be honest, it's a gimmick to go sell a comic book because if it says see Defenders 84 and I don't have Defenders 84, it's a good chance I may try to go find that book, right? So I can find out what actually they're referring to. There's an issue. There's issues with like the editor's notes of them not like pointing us in the right direction. Like they don't even seem like they care about like what's going on. Like what is happening here? What is happening? No, we don't get editor's notes. I'm like, we don't even have references. It's not just the big mystery box. It's also things like the conversations with Mary Jane. They'll be like, well, and this is what happened, and they just keep going with the story. But I'm like, wait a minute, what are they talking about with this one line? Like it's just, I feel like it's an edited script. Like I feel like because it's not bad. Like we were talking about, I think the first 4 or 5 issues, it's just an average story. I won't say it's great or good or it's not going to be a classic or anything like that. It's fine. It's just fine. Yeah.
Me as well, Pops. I do tend to look on the positives, and I have been out of Spidey for a long, long time. So, I've not got the long, what do you call it, the big history. When I first started reading Spidey, it was, who was the writer? It was before JMS. It was just after Todd McFarlane had done the Venom, Venom.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Okay. The original wedding special, there was a special where it had Mary Jane and Peter get married. I had that. So that's back in the day. I've been out for years. I've heard bits and pieces about Dan Slott and what happened here and that terrible One More Day storyline. Very controversial. Yeah. So, but I want to come back in, and to see if it's fun. Is Spidey still fun? And as you were saying, it is good. It's fun. It's simple, but it's dark. I was surprised by how dark it is. Peter is not a happy person. You're opening, as you say, in the middle of a story, it seems, and something terrible has happened, and everyone seems to dislike him or even hate him. But we don't know what it is. And they've been leading us on and on forever, it feels like. And what I've heard of rumour pops is we won't find out until March next year. That's the rumour I've heard.
I think it's just too much. Like, I just don't think that people want to spend the amount of money that they're asking for and have to do the homework, right? It's just too much. It's just too much. We should be able to pick up a single comic book and read it, and it should stand on its own to a certain extent, and then maybe thread into a longer story or be clearly defined as a longer story. Like, the other thing too I hated about these first 5 issues was it didn't say part 1 of 5, part 2 of 5. I didn't really know when it would end. It felt like it had endings, like kind of like it seemed like issue 3 maybe was wrapping up, and it kind of felt like, well, we're going to wrap up here. It just kind of kept going though. Yeah. And I kind of felt like you kind of need to let us know maybe a little bit too. Like, and that's good for your sales. Like, if it says, if I think it's ending at 3, but it says 3 of 5, I'm like, oh crap, there's still 2 more. I'm already invested 3. I'm going to go ahead and finish my set. They've lost the script on how to tap into what was working when we were active readers, right? This is, I mean, I don't know. I know I'm nitpicking, and I won't really disagree with what you're saying about it being dark, but some of them were dark. Like, even McFarlane stuff was dark. Yeah, some of McFarlane stuff got dark. Yeah, but this was not dark. This was dark because I think it's because Peter's so dark. He's in a horrible place. We don't know why. It drags the whole comic book down. Did the comedy work for you when he's making his little Spidey quips and things like that? Because in one minute he's in a mood swing and he's sad and depressed, and the next minute he's making a Spidey quip, and I was kind of like, I'm a little confused on this whole bipolar.
How can he make quips when his life's falling apart? Supposedly, I don't know. It does feel weird. When I say dark, I was maybe not just Peter's mood, but the violence pops and how it's depicted, the fights with Tombstone, which I've been enjoying, as you were saying. It's like a street level character, like criminal, and Spidey gets beaten up big time. I don't remember seeing him that beaten and that disheveled in the past, but maybe I've been out of the comic for a long time, so.
And I'll say that there were a lot of runs where they would have him beaten and disheveled and really, torn up like that. Okay. But it's something about the way, because again, it's very street level. It feels very raw and gritty, like a Punisher comic book in a lot of ways. Like it feels like a 90s Punisher comic book in a lot of ways, with all the street level crime. And I will admit, Tombstone has always been treated more like a thug villain. And in this one, he's really elevated to be a little bit sly and kind of pulls a little trickaroo on Spidey, and kind of like how he kind of gets the upper hand on other criminals. And I like that Kingpin aspect to his character without it going full Kingpin. I thought that was a very good thing. So I don't even know that I can recommend it, but I can say it's not bad. So that's how I can say. I'm not sure I can go full on recommend, but it's not bad. Now, we have to talk about the art.
Okay. Now, positive. I like JRJR's style.
And I do
too. A lot of people don't.
I do. I like it too, especially on Spider-Man. It worked for me. But there are panels where I'm like, did he get an assistant to do this panel? There's one panel where he has the mask, which later becomes like a helmet, right? I know I've kind of cheated. I know a little bit about where this series is going, so it looks like a helmet. But the red that's supposed to be blood doesn't even match the texture of the other blood on the suit. Like, it literally just looks like someone photoshopped a big red splotch right on the mask. It looks so bad. I'm like, okay, hold on.
Pops, I've heard some funny comments I've seen in reviews or comments, things like people calling it every now and then John seems to go into Minecraft mode. He's got Minecraft faces, or faces with no bone structure.
Yeah. It's all not right. Like, what is happening? Did he do this, or does he have an assistant Like I feel like there's like it's like a teacher's assistant at the university or something where like he's got an understudy or an apprentice or something, and they got to do this panel and that panel. And next thing you know, it's like, what is happening? It doesn't match. It does. It's really. I don't want to say
is it the schedule?
Out of
is it the two issues a month thing? Which I know they're supposed to be quite a few issues ahead, aren't they? They're supposed to be ahead, but. He's dropped out a few times. We've had Patrick Gleason, we've had Ed McGuinness, a couple of people have dropped in to do, fill-in issues, basically. So I think it looks rushed at times, but on the other hand, his panel compositions, they're so good, aren't they? And the way he does action, I think, saves the book.
Yeah, and again, I'm not going to diss on him because I think there are some massive action sequences over the city streets and jumping from vehicles and he really captures a lot of the movement of Spider-Man in a very classic way. And I will say that probably is one of the better positives of the film. And that fits well with Zeb Wells' story of the street level crime. So that's what you're getting. You're getting sort of like this very grounded feeling in New York with this sort of crime story. So that's our little Spider-Man update. I wish I was telling that I was a lot more current on this this story, but I'm not. But I will probably get there relatively quickly, and I may probably just do a little clip on this from me and Gray talking about it, and then I may do some videos because I know there's, like you said, there's a standalone issue coming up at number 6, so maybe I'll do a special issue on something like that, and maybe I'll discuss for the normies too, like why would there be a random issue like this, right? Because they got to give an artist and a writer, got to give them a day off. You got to give them a chance to catch up. You got to give them it is not uncommon. Like I did Miller's Daredevil. I talked about the original, and we have issues 168, 169, a 3-piece Kingpin story, and then he has an issue off, right? He has someone else coming in to help him, and I'm like, yeah, dude, he's working himself to death for like 5 months. You got to give him, give him, and it's still his story, and it's still his feel. You can just tell he's got someone else. That's where you get like the second names listed. You're like, gotta get. And I will say Miller, when I reread some of those older issues, Gray, it made me laugh because he would give credit to Klaus Janson, who he's worked with for years. And it will say, like, instead of it just saying colorist or something like that, it'll have penciler Frank Miller, and then it'll say, and Klaus Janson in the parentheses, the finisher. Like he finished everything that I didn't even have time to finish this book, and he took care of it for me. It's like stuff like that. You have to look for it. It's very subtle sometimes, but it's like it's in there. These guys
back in the days when they had inkers separate, didn't they? Pencilers and inkers. I remember those days, Pops.
Yeah, it was a different world. So, all right, let's see. Grace sharing with a little bit of our
It's
look
not really
here.
a spoiler. This is from the latest issue. This is issue 12. I just want to get your thoughts on this, Pops. Spidey on a glider.
I guess I don't understand. I would have to have some context on why he would need a glider. Like, it doesn't make any sense that he would be on a glider, and I don't like the imagery of he's not only just on a glider, he's crouched down like Goblin does.
He looks like Goblin, doesn't he? He's probably
100%.
working with Norman Osborn, working with him now, and he's been developing a Spidey Goblin tech suit. And I didn't even know there was a glider until this issue. It's like, oh, he's got a glider now. It just came from nowhere.
Not a fan.
No.
Seems like a merchandising gimmick. It would be hard for me to believe that we're going to work that into a story where that would be something that I would be fond of. But it looks cool.
It looks cool, but it just sets off alarm bells in my head. I'm like, there's something wrong with this picture.
Yeah, there is something wrong with that picture. So,
okay, thanks for sharing that.
No, it's good. Thank you for catching us up on some of the. So there's our Spider-Man update, folks, and maybe you're reading it. You can kind of let us know what you guys think. So, all right, we'll hop over to Batman.
Oh, great!
And Batman has been a roller coaster ride. Like, it was hard for me to even hear. Well, first off, let's just say Gray and I are diehard Batman people. Like, that was like part of our core when we were young. Just the 90s, 80s, and 90s stuff. It's just, there's fantastic stuff in there. Amazing creators. It just shaped our love of comic books and collecting. So over the years, when now we have more Robins than I can count, Robins that become other characters that I can barely keep track of who's who. You have, a naked panel. You have a possible marriage to Catwoman. You have just gimmick after gimmick and all sorts of shenanigans. It's like we just don't tell decent stories, and you're like, no, Chip Zdarsky's taking over. He did a good run on Daredevil. You should give it a shot. Did a good video. I'm like, crap. Gray's making me want to think about reading this. So I was like, okay, maybe. Let me see. Bifer's here. Hey, Bifer. Thanks.
Hey.
Good morning. Hey there, my friend. Yes, new Batman and Superman. Well, okay. Well, we'll see. I think you're talking movie stuff.
Which one's which? Is it me? Am I Batman, or is that you, Pops?
I would probably not make a great Superman. I don't know. I do love the idea of being Superman. There's just something ominous about that. Well, we're going to derail that conversation. Let's do that. Have you ever thought about that? Like, I actually had this thought. My wife was teasing me for about a week and a half or so. I kept having these thoughts. Like, if you were Superman, like I thought about writing a comic book story, like Superman's powers for a day. You don't have to necessarily call it Superman. You're just like, powers for the day. Like you were stuck. You woke up and suddenly you have these powers. First off, you'd have to know that you had those powers. So you'd have to test some of it out. But it's like, it becomes so limitless. It's almost overwhelming. You almost feel like, what could you do? You could do anything. Like there's so many things to do. I wouldn't even know where to begin. So then, of course, she was like, this is like how nerds' brains work. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of how we work. Like when we're kids, we do this all the time because we pretend to be these characters. So as an adult, when you have a little bit more maturity and thought to it all, you start thinking about, but, my life is so small and insignificant to what Superman could do in just a few moments. It's crazy. So anyway, back to Batman. You guys see the story. Batman. Anyway, so he says, all right, give Chip Zdarsky. Now, first off, everyone needs to know, too, that Chip Zdarsky has blocked me on Twitter for no reason at all. Like, I just don't like the people that he thinks I should like. I don't know why. I don't know. Okay, fair enough. Not off to a good start with this creative team. But I jumped in, and I will say, spoilers abound. What I did like was the fact that Chip Zdarsky seemed like he was in a very positive way tying some stuff to old comic books. So the story kind of begins with Batman 125, right?
That's right.
And let me go back into here. I will admit the story was fine. It wasn't really till the next issue that I really was engaged. So he writes two different stories in the same book, which is really what the weirdest thing for me was. I had to get used to the idea of we're going to have a Batman story first, and then we're going to have a Catwoman story. And I thought he didn't write. I thought I actually kind of went back and looked again, like making sure I got. So he's writing two different. Now, admittedly, he pulls things together, folks, which actually was very, very good. What is it about his writing that you think is appealing? What is it about it for you works for you? Before I get too further into this, I guess.
Okay, well, I dropped out of Batman. I thought it had gone pretty boring with, first of all, after Tom King, then it was James Tynion, and then Joshua Williams was doing it for a bit. Just lost me. It just got dull and seemed to be, stretching out stories forever, Pops. But when I heard Chip was going to be writing it, I was really enjoyed his run on Daredevil recently. That was a great run, I thought, and I'd seen some of his work on Spectacular Spider-Man, which was good too. So I thought to give it a shot. And as you say, the first issue, there's a lot of setup. It's setting things up. But from his second issue, so we're talking 126, from then on, it just goes all-out action. But not only that, it's not just about the action. The writing is really good. The characters sound like the characters. The voices are there. I think he's got a good take, a good line on how people sound in the Batman universe.
Yeah, I think Batman 125 would be a good place for everyone to jump in if you wanted to, because and I'll say this: we're only a couple issues in, so if you don't like it in a couple issues, listen, don't blame us. But I will admit, and I agree with him. Chip does a good job of saying, all right, here's this little story. We have some dream sequences that should make you wonder what this is about. You have some flashback stuff to some other things that should make you, and again, they're actually footnoted properly, right? There's a reference to the classic Tower of Babel story from JLA that Grant Morrison wrote, and it's a key thing. He introduces this new character, and it is interesting. And I will say that because there's a couple other reasons that they do different things. And when they introduce all of the secondary characters, like you're saying, Gray, like because you have Nightwing and Robins, and you have Duke Thomas, and you have so you have all these different characters. They did a good job. They did a great job, actually. I'm gonna go. He did a great job of handling, because this is one of my big turnoffs to the Bat universe. Is it gets so everyone's just trying to do something to get headlines and sales and news. It's like, just write good stories. And maybe it's by accident that he pulled this off, because I will say that I really did enjoy it. I really did, and I will say I really enjoyed 126 more than 125. 125, I thought, what are you kind of going for here? And then I felt like there was like a cheap death kind of like setup in it, and then I realized, oh wait, there's more. He's not done yet, and I thought that's fine. That's kind of what I wanted to see. Was and I was going to share more with you folks, but I cannot for the life of me figure out the desktop navigation compared to the app. The phone app actually is pretty easy to work with anyway. And again, spoilers are abound. So if you don't want spoilers,
Pops, how is that? Can I ask you, what's the DC universe, the comic app like? Because we can't actually get that in Japan. I can get the Marvel one, but I can't get the DC one.
I'm still learning. I've only had it for a few days. One of my viewers heard me comment about the reason I haven't talked as much about DC and whatever. It's only from stuff I actually own or physically, whatever, because I don't have the app. And they send me the money to buy the app. So I have the app for like a year, and been
awesome.
trying it out. I had been covering, or I had written a note to cover that John Kent, Son of Kal-El thing that's happened, where it's like, he comes out as gay, and now it's gotten canceled. And so I'm going to do that anyway, because I was like, I was going to cover that story. So I said, I'm going to read this series, because at that point it's only like going to be 18 issues long anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do a video on why it's really getting canceled, because no one cares about the sexuality stuff. That's just so overwrought. It's just literally like politicking, Twitter, crazy people. No one cares. It's getting canceled because it's crap. And my video will give you some examples on why it's crap.
I actually got the first issue of that run, Pops. I got it when it came out, and I reviewed it, and I was kind of kind. It wasn't too bad, but there were things in there which set alarm bells off. It was like, it was supposed to be a story of comic book, heroes, and then you suddenly get an environmental message, quoted by one of the characters
in the middle of a fight scene. Damian and John's kind of standing there because he's impervious to everything. Damian's fighting, and it's like, yeah, I know how you feel. It's like, you're this superpower thing who can change the world, but then there's climate change and racial inequity and all. And you're like,
unnatural. It's just
what the heck? First off,
takes you right out of the story.
And these are supposed to be like kids. Like they're not. They're let's just go late teens, early 20s, right? And it's like, since when are they? Trust me. And that's
so you read the first issue, yeah? I take it.
Oh no, I'm on 12 or 15. I'm almost.
Are you going for it, Pops? I can't believe you stuck with it.
Well, I'm going to do a video where I'm going to kind of go through a lot of these different things of why it's gotten canceled, why no one wants to read this comic book. I'm not sure Tom Taylor's ever going to care. But that's not my point. My point is for readers. This is why this is all crap. It's just they're not even telling you a story. They'll have like literally pages of nothing happening, like just nothing happening at all. And just stupid things. And we're supposed to treat these characters because he's a superhero with some sort of respect, without him actually showing me he deserves any respect. When he does stupid things and he says stupid things, I don't treat him like a smart person. Sorry, no. I don't. He barely knows someone and just takes them to the freaking Fortress of Solitude and stuff like that. You're like, oh gosh. So, good morning, Ryan. Ryan Roger Athay is here. Good morning, my friend. And he says he's got his Razer mic. Let's go, buddy. Let's go. It's an upgrade.
Cool. Congratulations.
The machine. And bye. For any time Gray has that pause, and I bring it out to most of our streams together, there's usually a moment or two where Gray's like, that was rough. That was rough. Yeah. Anyway, so back to Batman.
Yeah, go for it.
I was trying to get this again. The app is relatively fun to use and easy to navigate through, but when I'm on the desktop, it doesn't. I'm telling you, they're just not the same.
No, they're not. The phone apps are much better. They're always better. Yeah, Comixology and Marvel Unlimited too, much better on the phones.
So on the phone, I'm gonna pull this up. So this is the Batman 125, and I thought I could just jump right into 126, right? So on the app, when you scroll down right here, they have like, view the series. And this is like in the series, but this is not the same series. This is
That's Rebirth. No way.
well,
Tom
that's
King.
the early, but that's like 100 something issues ago, and there's no way to
Yeah.
scroll to the next issue. It's not here. This is like the issues 1. I'm like, I don't want to go back to issue 1. I want to go back. I want to go to the next issue, or I want to go to 124. I don't want to go all the way back to 1. Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
It says add to library, add to list, and share. And then when we were in the comic, which we'll open back up, and because it has a cameo of the character, the villain, this
Did they have a delayed release there, Pops? They delay the latest issue for like 3 months, like Marvel.
Well, this one, no. This is so there's different tiers in DC. So the tier
okay.
I have shortens that delay. I think it's to a month, but sometimes they do special stuff. I think it's because they don't sell, but they do special stuff. So I'm on the final page of this part of the story, but then I thought, well, no, it didn't advance because I'm not on the final page of the issue. So I clicked the final page of the issue. So now I'm on the last page, and it says autoplay. Read nothing. There's no way to advance. It doesn't do anything. I hit enter. It won't go to the next issue. But now it does. Okay, I literally hit enter like 3 times for it to go to 126. Okay. Maybe I got impatient.
I'm like you.
Greg.
I prefer desktop because I like to read it on a big screen. I'm the same, and I use the terrible Kindle reader now because they killed the Comixology one when they merged with Kindle. It's a real shame. They don't have the guided view anymore. They only have that on the phone app. I miss that.
So, and I want to give credit because Jorge Jimenez's art and bringing the action sequences. This is really, really good stuff.
So good.
I have to give credit where credit is due. And this is so far delivered on story and some elements with some cool twists and some cool turns. It's got some edge to it. And I did not care for the backstory, the whole little Catwoman backstory, until the next issue.
Me neither.
Yeah, no. Wait till you get to the next issue, though. They do finally. He does finally make it worth something. So I have to give him a little credit. I didn't hate it. It would be a good place to jump in if you wanted a new comic to jump in on. It's not woke or weird or agenda driven or purple or yellow or whatever. They don't sit around and talk. They don't sit around and talk about sandwiches for 3 pages, things like that. You just see a very troubled Bruce Batman persona conflict with a great sort of villain that appears, and he has to deal with it and how it all navigates through. And as far as I can tell, pretty sure it wraps up in 127. I don't think in 126 it did. I think it goes to the next issue. So, but I will say, clicking it, like it is not the desktop version and the app version. They've got to figure out a way to do something to make that easier to navigate both. Like the Marvel one's terrible. The desktop Marvel stuff is like almost unworkable. Almost.
Really?
I can't.
I found it okay.
Oh, the Marvel Unlimited on the desktop?
Yeah, I used to have it. I don't have it at the moment, but when I had it, it was working pretty well. I found the phone version of Marvel wasn't good for some reason.
Oh, I've gotten used to the phone version.
Okay.
And when I get into the right screens on the Marvel Unlimited, like you just have to get into it properly because it seems like it constantly wants you into TV and movies and all this stuff. But once you get into comic books and you're reading what you want to read on the desktop, then I think you're fine. But the DC, so again, there's got to be little nuances and things like that.
It's just getting there. Yeah, I know what you mean. You're right.
But I would say, sum up, Batman 125 is fair. It was fine. It's a good place to jump in. It's a decent little story. The art is fine. There's nothing weird. And I will say he's done a good job of having literally like the Bat family. Like you have like 6 or 7 characters that are doing different things and all of that. And he did a pretty good job of handling all of that and making them have their own voice and looks and feels and stuff like that. Good morning, Josh. Hey there, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Great to see you join us for a comic book talk here. We went through Amazing Spider-Man and now some Batman stuff and that kind of thing. So, well, Gray, you read Spawn. I have no access to Spawn, so I have to go to you to get my Spawn updates. I'm behind on updates. How's Spawn still going, my friend?
It's going very well, Pops. I'm still buying and reviewing all 4 titles of the Spawn universe, but my 2 favorites are Gunslinger Spawn, which I think everyone ranks as probably the best, and then King Spawn is second. But there's also the regular Spawn title, and there's the team book, The Scorched. For me, that's the one that's been a little bit hit and miss. Like, the writer doesn't seem to get the team dynamics right so far.
Now, do you read that through Comixology, or do you actually, how do you get your copies?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to get digital because I'm
Mhm.
like, a million miles from a comic book shop. So, yeah, I have to read it through the Kindle reader as well because there's no Comixology for Japan.
Mm.
So, yeah, it's a bit of a pain. Do you know what's ironic, Pops? I'm not condoning piracy, but it's like you get a better reading experience on the pirate sites than you do on the Kindle or the Comixology site. The desktop reader, anyway. Crazy.
Yeah, it is a little frustrating too. My wife had, she's telling me about how are you watching that, and it was, maybe the most scrupulous way that I was watching something, and I said, yeah, it's a better version than the service is offering. Like, it was just a very high. It was like a digital copy. Someone lifted the digital file, and I'm like, yep, that's what they did. So Josh is teasing me. So this is a joke that went on. He was on with Heiress of Chaos on a Saturday show. And there was an ad. I kid you not. I totally clicked. I totally checked every single box for this job. Mary Sue was applying, but it was written in a way, Gray, for someone that has journalistic experience, writing website articles, covering these different things, whatever. And I joked about, I should apply because I'm just like, I would look like a good candidate. Of course, I'm male, so that's not going to work. But if I could I could just say I'm non-binary and just I don't believe in 2 people. I don't believe in 2. I just say I'm non-binary, and that would be I'd qualify. So it's an ongoing gag about applying for a job at the Mary Sue and kind of infiltrating the chaos that is Mary Sue. And it was written to be like slave labor. It's like it's so much expectation, but it's like, but it was like, but you can almost do as much. It's almost like, but you'll get paid as much as you want to do like 100, you get paid. It's like it was implying like we desperately need content, we desperately need slave labor.
Really?
Yeah, it was really, really funny, and it caught my. I was kind of having a good. They were talking about it for a while, and I was having a good laugh in my head about, said job application. So Josh never lets me forget that.
Horrible site. I've only ever been on it by accident a couple of times. So yeah,
it's part of that network of like really far left political sites that view everything through that lens, and it's just it's no different than what a far right would be. It's just I just don't understand why you'd want to live your life tied to stuff like that. Taints everything. So. Well, I'm glad Spawn's still going well. I do enjoy. I got to get caught up on my Gray videos now that we've had a chance to catch up on that too. The art is still, I assume, amazing because the art is always like freaking great on the Spawn books.
Oh yeah, that's one thing you can rely on. Definitely, each of the books has a great artist, a regular artist. I'll tell you though, Pops, you've got to check out Gunslinger because Todd McFarlane's actually writing that one, and Brett Booth is doing, I think, the art of his life so far on it. It's so good. It feels a bit like a 90s comic book, but I'm just enjoying it. It's like, okay, this is a comic that makes me have fun when I read it. There's no message. There's no like politics as far as I can see. It's just crazy fun, and it makes me feel young again.
It's funny when you check out of comics a little bit and you'll read something and you'll enjoy it. You almost feel like you've been trapped. Like, wait, is this a trap? Like, it's kind of how I felt when I read I felt like what is happening? Like, why am I liking this Batman book? I shouldn't like this Batman book. It's a modern comic, but it was like, it's just not. It's like, it was okay. It's like, and Spider-Man kind of was too. I kind of felt the same way. Like, this is actually not bad. I was just reading Red Hulk because obviously the She-Hulk nonsense, I endured that. So I had to find some sort of positive out of that.
God.
So I said, well, I'm going to read the comic. Let me go back to the comics. And I'd already reread Sensational She-Hulk and stuff like that. But I wanted to read the first appearance of Red Hulk. And then it only had the first 2 issues. So I grabbed I had the graphic novel for like a few dollars, like, older graphic novel. And I thought it was more modern than it is. This has been a while ago. Anyway, it's Jeff Loeb. You know who Jeff Loeb is.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, so I'm going to do a review of how good this is. And it's kind of like, it's a good Hulk story.
Is it good? It's good, yeah. it
is
holds
Hulk.
up.
You know how Hulk is, right? Now, Hulk's not for everyone, right? Hulk is not meant to be on the same level of something that's just completely different. If you just want to like a lot of superhero throwdown, the art can be very primitive because it's just a bunch of muscle-bound things just throwing at each other. So it's just different, right? But I will say it was clever with how invested they get you in a very short amount of time, right? It's very quickly they get you invested. And I thought, well, I'll just, it's only a few dollars to get this graphic novel because again, it's older, but it's not. I guess I thought it was more modern than it is. It's like from like the 2000s. It's been out for a while, so I'm like, oh, I thought it was more recent than that. So I will say it suffers the same problem that the Amazing Spider-Man did. It doesn't want to wrap up the twist. It doesn't want to wrap up the mystery box. It wants to keep going. So it doesn't give me a nice tidy, who's who, what's what surprise yet, but it was okay. It was fine.
Oh no, they had mystery boxes back then as well, did they?
Well, there are always mystery boxes. I don't have a problem with that. Christian Fandom Geek is here. He's hopping in here and saying, "Hey there, my friend, and thanks for smashing that like." Thank you so much. Yeah, we're gonna do our part. He has a little joke because he does like gaming streams, and I'll pop in. I don't care less about gaming. Obviously, it's not my thing, and he's doing like soccer gaming, and I'll just hop in and say, "Hey, hit the like button and smash a comment, do whatever," and that kind of thing. So, Josh, back to work. Hey there, my friend. Thanks for stopping in, hanging out with me for a second. Appreciate it. So,
have a good one.
Yeah. So I didn't know much about the Red Hulk story, so that's why I read. I wanted to read like what is actually going on, and I will say it's very on the nose. Like Red is rage and super strong and that kind of stuff. So it's a little on the nose from that point of view.
Yeah,
but it works really, really well. And I will say it doesn't fit the modern comic book thing because one of the other things that happens is Red Hulk is just thrashing She-Hulk, just destroying her, like crushing her. And they do some of it like
work today, would it?
No, they would not have had that. But some of it's like off camera. I say camera, but I mean off page. Like it's not, you don't see it. Then they go back and they do a king size Red Hulk. And that's the story where she and he are fighting that she loses. So I thought that was very, very smart. Like it's a good way of doing that. So, quick question. Yes, Christian Fandom Geek, hit us up. Let's do it. Question time. We should have a little music or song or something like that. We're more than happy to take questions. And we pretty much covered, I think, a lot of things we talked about we're doing. So, you're talking to the wrong dude. Okay, that had to be all gray. Any thoughts on the World Cup?
Do you know, I'd forgotten it was it's even happening. It's taking place because it's a different time of year, isn't it? It's autumn instead of the summertime. No idea about it. Is America, have they qualified, Pops? Of course they're there, aren't they? Yeah, I don't know. I think England are in there as well. I'm not sure.
So my take on sports is sports doesn't get any of my eyeball time. I just kind of cursory follow it, so I have a general finger on what's going on. It drives my son crazy because he'll bring up something in football, thinking that American football, thinking I don't know anything about it, and I go, "Oh yeah, this is what happened." He's like, "How do you?" And I'm like, "Well, because it's still the same sport it was when I was a kid. It's not that hard to kind of keep up with what's going on." So, Christian Fan to be the answer to your question for me is, I will have my finger on the pulse of what's going on. But I'm not invested in the Americans doing well or Brazil losing, or I don't really have a dog in the fight. I was kind of have my finger on what is actually happening, so I don't make a fool of myself if it comes up in conversations or things like that.
I'm kind of looking forward to it, Pops. I always get excited when it actually starts, and I always, root, of course, for England. But like many things these days, like modern TV and modern comic books, they often let me down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry to hear that, my friend. America's men are usually terrible. So it is what it is. But no, I don't. Yeah, it looks like the Americans are in it. So they're in the same bracket with England.
Oh my God! I don't even know if Japan are qualified or not. I think they did.
Yes, Japan is in Group E. So so England, Iran, USA, and Wales is in Group B. Japan, Germany, Costa Rica, and Spain is in Group E.
Ooh, that's hard for Japan.
I know. Yeah, going with Germany and Spain in the same bracket, that's got to be rough. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thanks for that update. Does it say when it's starting? Is it next month? Is it November sometime? I think.
Where did it? See, they got a schedule over here. That's the bracket.
Christian Fandom, how about you? Are you looking forward to it?
He's got to be. He's playing FIFA like every day.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah.
He loves this stuff, and I have to admit, he is super good at the game, and he's super fun to watch doing the game because he does. When he plays, I'll say this. Maybe not everybody does this, but I will say this: the games are only interesting for normies.
He's a Brit. I didn't know. Sorry.
Oh, right.
I just presumed he was American with the what do you call it, Avatar.
Oh no, yeah. I'm sorry. You're right. Yeah, he is a Brit. He engages aspects of the game that show off the graphics of the game. Like I get to enjoy cool graphics. Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you're watching people play games and you're just like, they're not really doing anything that's making me enjoy the game more. Like he's really engaged and in it and doing his thing. So, and yeah, he'll be cheering for England for the win.
Come on, England! So we got all disappoint us. You know it. You just know it, mate.
He's got all these Brits up in here, and yeah, I don't know. Because one of the boss's boss kind of thing, like the VP of the company is like from Britain and from the UK somewhere, I don't know where, and he'll change the channel in the break room. He'll just walk in and just change the channel. He doesn't care. They're on TV. It'll be on in our break room whenever this goes live. So that's that. There's no going back from that. So, and Bifer says Italy did not make the World Cup.
No, that's right. They didn't qualify. It was a big shock.
Big surprise, huh? All right.
Ryan's cheering on Wales, of course, Pops, because Ryan's from Wales.
Yes. Go, Ryan. Yeah, Ryan's doing his thing. That's all right. Cheer him on, Ryan. Cheer him on, buddy. Go on. So yeah, I just don't really do the sports thing too much. I have no real aversion to it. I just don't dedicate my eyeball time to it. Mrs. Pops has no desire to engage too much of that kind of. And I've never been the kind of guy that did. Even when I was really into this kind of stuff, I didn't really subject her to a lot of that stuff. There's the wrench. He's the Pops mod, Chris Persia.
Chris.
And man, oh man, Chris, this thumbnail. I did not have the right thumbnail up, Gray, because I didn't see it on Twitter.
Do you know what, Pops? I meant to say I couldn't find your stream before it went live. I had to really search for it. I had to go into your homepage, go into upcoming live streams, and it was there. It's like, what's going on with that?
I don't know. It's the shenanigans. I swear I try to keep stuff on the playlist at the top. I try to move things around. Because that way I can circumvent them messing with it. Like it's like, okay, maybe not everybody knows how that works, but I try. But reality was I got caught so much in last night. My stream last night was a complete debacle at the start. So those of you who don't know, I celebrated my 1,500 subscribers last night.
Yay.
We thank you so much. And thank you, Gray, for your part in that.
That was this morning for me. That's really weird.
Oh, okay. This morning for Gray. This morning for Gray, we celebrated 1,500 subscribers. But the beginning of that stream, for some reason, my connection was just not going to do it. My connection, it's roboting, buffering. Ryan jokes that the intro is so great because it involved Ryan. I don't know what he did. I don't know if he was dancing or what he was doing because my computer was nothing was working properly for at least 30 minutes or so. So he was dancing. Yes, he says he was dancing. So needless to say, I was so happy going through that long stream with everybody being there and hanging with me for so long and having a good time. Bifer says he thinks it was the prize wheel. Yeah, that's kind of our best theory because once we closed the prize wheel thing, the little wheel of names thing, and then it started working properly. But it kind of took the wind out of my sails. You know how tech stuff is. Like you just don't want to. I hate that kind of stuff. Like it's beyond my control. I can't even do anything to fix it. Right.
Me too.
So I didn't do any like real promotion for this morning. That's on me. I didn't, I got up late and pinned it back to my Twitter, top of my Twitter, and things like that. So some of that's on me. But YouTube shenanigans are notorious, like Utah. So I'll be on with Ryan next week, and I'm sure that's what he'll want to talk about. It's a little bit about my experiences with YouTube shenanigans, because Lord knows.
Ryan's talked about it. We talked about it together. Channel suppression is real, folks, as Ryan says, especially when you cover certain topics, shall we just say?
And nothing is. You can't believe anything. Like if you're a streamer, like right now, StreamYard says there's only 3 people in here, right? I have been on shows or streams where me coming or going doesn't change that number. You can count the number of people and the numbers don't match. Like it doesn't matter if you're looking at the YouTube number, you're looking at the StreamYard number. It doesn't matter. View counts will change. Like days today. Like you can go in one day, it'll say, let's say 100 views. The next day it'll say 500 views, and you go into the third day, it'll say 200 views. It's like it does not. I don't know what's happening. So the you call data center. Yeah, I took so much heat for when I covered that in 2005. Oh my gosh, I was a conspiracy theorist nut job.
Really?
Yeah, I did an article and we talked about the servers caught on fire. The servers melted down. They had like 23 servers or something that basically just overheated because they're processing so much of our data, metadata.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I took heat for follow-up because I got asked to do a follow-up about what is metadata. But at that time, nobody knew exactly what metadata even meant and how dangerous. Like metadata sounded like it was not anything, right? It just sounded very high level. And I'm like, oh, okay, yes, but if we all know what's in your email box, then I don't have to open your emails, but I can tell people, I know when you go to bed, I know when you're awake, I know what, I know who you're communicating with, I know, it doesn't take long to build, as Ryan, who's built his own paper file, has. Yeah. So yes. Yeah, it was fun. I had such a great time doing that. I almost didn't want to tarnish it by having more technical issues. So I didn't do anything like that. I actually went on Pacific 414 stream for a while because he was talking comic books last night.
Oh, good.
Yeah, well, comic book, yeah, more like adaptation stuff. Black Adam, and they talked about the new animated X-Men, which makes my head hurt and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Have you seen Black Adam, Pops, or are you going to?
I did just see Black Adam. It was it's fine. I can recommend it as fun.
Yeah,
it's a little overblown with how people talk about how good it is or how great it is or whatever. Like we're getting really carried away with our expectation of that. It's sort of in that like Marvel Phase 2 category of good. Like it's good, but let's not get carried away. Like it's not like the best of the best or anything like that. And I will say that the ending, that the big twist credit scene that's leaked out everywhere, that Henry returns, is by far like this. Here's the thing, great. They play a little bit of the music. They give us just a little John Williams. That dun, 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 dun. They just give you just a little taste. It almost gives you goosebumps. It gets you just because you're like, that's my Superman. You're just like, oh yeah, And I will admit, the biggest problem with it is they didn't let The Rock kind of animate much. Like kept him very stoic. Anyway, yeah, it was fine. I had a good time, but it's not like some people are like, it's a 9. I'm like, okay, you're a crazy person. It's not a 9.
It seemed to be getting a lot of criticism from the, shall we say, official critics. That's what I heard. And also, parts before I meant to say, Japan doesn't get it until December 2nd. Isn't that weird?
Oh my gosh, that's after China.
It's a big, yeah. I think we're often last for some reason. We come after North Korea.
Oh my gosh.
We don't even get movies.
They just smuggle them in on the boat. They've got it already. Wow, that is really late. No, I'm sorry to hear that, my friend.
Strange.
It is. I try to touch on it a little bit in my review on why I think critics don't like Black Adam, because it is very, very disconjointed. It has a lot of start-stop elements to the story that it's telling, and it's just, and there's not a lot of complexity to it. It's a very simplistic thing. So, Bifer says that Black Adam was better than Doctor Strange 2, Doctor Strange Mom, and yes, well, that was nope. There's no doubt
Thor
about
Love
that.
and Thunder. I haven't even watched it. I just don't.
It's unbearable. It's unbearable. You know what's going to bother you the most is, for me, great, because you and I are alike in this too. If we're going to have this kind of tone, just have that tone.
Yeah.
But they'll make a moment, and then they crack a joke, and then you're going along, and they kind of okay, we're going along, crack a joke. It's like, okay, crack a joke. It's just like, oh my gosh, can someone please stop doing this? Like it got to be so irritating for me, where it's like we would have these moments where you're supposed to have a character development or a serious moment, and it would just be some cheesy, cheeky, stupid joke or gag, and that was one of the worst things for me. I hated it. So Chris Burgess going back to the Utah data center and says those servers overheated. I suppose none of the close to 3,000 people working at YouTube were able to get on top of that problem. Well, this was the Utah data center. That's different than YouTube, so I don't know. But the fact that we have just these multitude of people in all this stuff capturing all of our data, it's crazy. So, Bifer's talking about RR making it to Japan. Yeah, I saw that.
It came out, the theaters, last Friday. I really want to go and see it. I say we had to wait till October, man. Crazy.
I'm so happy for you that you can see it in the theater. I wish I had known about it when it was in the theater here in the States. I missed the theater experience. I've watched it like 3 or 4 times on my phone, shared to the screen on the screen of the house, but not like in a theater. So I don't know. Could people rate it 8 or 8 doing that because WB has been handing out so many clunkers, starving for anything half decent, hence being over generous? Yes. The over generous thing is epidemic. This thing is. It's everyone wants to go. It's dog crap, and it's classic. It's like it's like a 2 or a 3, or it's like a 9 or a 10. It's like okay,
crazy.
8 is probably a little. Again, I'm trapped with the critic brain. Like when I had to do 5-star, a scale of 5. Most things are around a 2 to a 3, and every now and again you'll get a 4. And once every few, maybe once a year you get a 5. Usually once every few years you get a real 5, because a real 5 needs to be like rewatchable, right? It doesn't hold. It doesn't. A real 5 holds up. Well, then it becomes too complicated, and we all wanted half stars to become like 2.5s and 3.5s, and then you end up with IMDb that does the 10-point scale. So now if I give something a 3, it's actually a 6, and I start to look a little bit like a jackwagon. Well, of course, now we do Rotten Tomatoes, and everything is on a 100-point scale, and I give that a 60. Now I really look like a jackwagon, but the scale's pretty much the same. And I'm like, that's why so many things end up in like the 80s and the 90s, because people feel like it's not good enough. They're comparing it to their mental, subjective, psychological state of how we were graded in schools. Like the only way to be an A or a B is to get like an 80 or a 90 on a test. And I'm like, well, that's not the same as grading. We don't grade movies the same way. There are no 10s. You guys stop giving so many things 10s. Yes. I should do a whole video on just the Rotten Tomato 10s, because it makes my head hurt that there's so many things that do not deserve to be there. I don't think it's an 8. To me, it's like a very strong 6, 7 kind of thing. Black Adam. I'd have to rewatch it. Yeah. I need to rewatch it because I need to see how much it shows up in a. I understand what you mean, Chris. Like people calling it a 9. It's absurd.
I'm most looking forward to seeing Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate, Pops. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. He was very, very good. Very well cast. And Dr. Fate was fine. And I said this, and people, I don't know, somebody said something to me. I said, I get it. I understand the lore. I know he came before Doctor Strange. However, they're late to the game. So it's not my fault that when Dr. Fate does things, it seems like Doctor Strange. So they should have tried to make some of his effects and his magic feel and look different than Doctor Strange's did in his movies. That was probably the biggest negative of Dr. Fate. And of course the ending is, well, I don't know. I don't like how they ended with Dr. Fate. We need to have more Dr. Fate. Like it didn't give me the way Dr. Fate's fate. It didn't give me the kind of through line that I kind of want.
How was Hawkman, by the way, and how was
Hawkman was fantastic.
Okay, cool.
It was fantastic, and that take on Hawkman was fine. I mean, people want to be upset about the race swap. I don't care about that. First off,
I don't care about that.
Hawkman can regenerate, and actually, that was one of the plot points, is because Hawkman can regenerate. So there's all this wasted screen time about him dying, and I'm like, dude can regenerate, and they call him Carter. I wish they had picked one of the other versions of Hawkman to have him as his name or something like that. And I wish that he was part of the reason they ended up in this Black Adam conflict, because of his ties to Egypt as well.
Okay.
But that wasn't what they went with. But it was fantastic. So yeah, I don't know. My review's up. It's okay. I don't really give scores exactly, but if I did, it'd probably be more like a strong 6 to a 7. Ryan says a 6 in 2000 is far better than a 6 in 2022. Most films were better in 2000. But this is a solid film. I'm not going to say it's not. And I'm a super hard critic. I have to be honest. I'm a terrible, you hear all these people and you hear all these different things about whatever. They're terrible at their jobs because they just have this narcissistic way of looking at things, and they will contradict their own stuff. I always try to put it in this imaginary scale that's in my brain about how it would wrap up. And that's why I can't handle things being a 10. There's so few things that are 10s. 10s are such...
I know, right? Pops,
Yeah.
It gets me with I don't know if you ever check it out. Do you know Comic Book Roundup? I'm sick of the official critics on that. It's like every week or every month, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 9, 9, 9, 10, 10. I always go for the user reviews and just check those out. And even those, you can get like some 10s or some zeros, but you get a better idea. I just like, it's so obvious they're just shilling for free issues, aren't they, basically? A lot of these critics.
And it makes no sense. There just shouldn't be 10s. Like, there's so few.
How can you have
10s?
10 every time? Yeah, it doesn't.
Like,
It reduces the value of 10.
Yeah, it's just there's no 10. It's just a joke.
There's no value then. Yeah.
So it's just like so basically now when the great one actually comes along, you guys are gonna what? It should be an 11. You just start making crap up because you have saturated your own scale, right? And I have said there are great movies that just keep going down because they don't have rewatchability. Like that's one of my biggest factors. If I don't want to rewatch this thing, how great really was it? And part of it is, a film can be damaged just by its, like Philadelphia, right? The famous Tom Hanks, Denzel Washington AIDS film from the 90s, Oscar-winning film that I will never sit through again.
No.
It's just, I'm good. Been there, done that. That was awful. Thank you for that experience. It was awful. It was a wonderful film, great performances, and I would never sit through it again, right? That's okay. But it will never be a 10. You don't want to sit through. If people don't want to watch them again, they don't get to be talked about in that type of category, right? I think there's anything wrong with making 6s and 7s. It's fine. That's the sweet spot. Every now and again, you'll hit an 8. And every now and again, once or twice a year, you might get a 9.
Yeah.
I don't know what RR is going to feel like 5 years from now. I'm enjoying it so far on my rewatchability. I think all the structures are there for it to be like a classic and something I would enjoy. Special effects keep it from being a 10, but that's not their fault. I mean, they can only do what they can do. But I really like that. I really enjoyed it. It's a great film. So. Look, we all have those that you can rewatch. I get it.
Yeah.
Clockwork Orange is a classic, and it is rough. And I'm not saying rough movies can't be 10 or can't be rewatchable. I'm just saying there are some that are like that for me personally, and everyone kind of has those things. And I think as an audience, that should be factored in. Like I think if Philadelphia got re-released in theaters, it's not like people are going to flood the theaters to go sit through that film again. Like it doesn't. That's what I mean. But if you re-release Saving Private Ryan again, tons of people are going to want to go see that in the theater again because even though it's a difficult film to sit through, because it is very graphic, it holds up so well. So.
It's a great theatrical experience. Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
a very cinematic movie, isn't it? As you say. How about something more recent, parts? Would you go and rewatch Joker? The recent Todd Phillips one.
That's a really good example too, because there's been many times that I have gone to rewatch Joker and still haven't, and it's because you have to be in the right kind of mood to even give it a fair chance.
Yeah,
right?
You do.
Went to the theater, saw it, really impressed, and really enjoyed it. Performance, obviously.
Me too.
But
once.
But many times I've been on HBO Max to turn something on, and I'm not in the mood.
No, yeah, me too.
I'm gonna watch. No, I'm not in the mood. I actually one of the worst things about my brain is that's how. First, before I get too far, hey, it's up to God's game.
Hey,
keep those. You gotta get some videos for me, bro. I gotta get caught up on these videos. Everybody's making videos. So yeah, that's definitely one. That's a great example of a more modern one that has the same kind of problem where it's a great film, but I don't know how much I want to endure it again. Like it's just. And I'm not saying I don't like dramas. Like I just rewatch because the HBO Max came out with a series called The Offer, which dealt with the making of The Godfather, and that got me to rewatch the 2 Godfather films.
Is it really good, by the way, Pops? Is the series good? The Offer?
It's fantastic.
Okay, I want to watch that. Yeah, I'd heard about it, but I haven't seen it yet.
It's fantastic because people talk about like how great House of Dragons is, and I haven't had a chance to do a video with my list of complaints and grievances.
Really?
We've gotten a little carried away because we're
I quite enjoyed that.
To Ring of Power. No, it's fine. I'm enjoying it too. I watched the whole thing, enjoyed it. But
Rings of Power is a train wreck. It's awful.
I'm not even giving it a minute.
I stopped. I haven't even watched the finale. I refuse. I can't get 5 minutes through one episode. Oh God.
I let Magitech Max try to sell me. Let's tell me a reason why I should even give it a minute of my time. She's like, no, and everyone's covering it, so I have nothing to offer.
Yeah,
I'm a total noob when it comes to Tolkien and all that. So, and for House of Dragon, it was more like guilty pleasure because I had been. Yeah. I never watched Game of Thrones and never experienced any of it in real time.
Oh, okay.
And then I binged it during the pandemic. And then, so my perspective on Game of Thrones is usually different than everyone else's because I didn't have a gap You know what I mean?
Right.
I went from Red Wedding right into season 4. There was no it was the next video. I didn't have this long year to dwell on the trauma that everybody had to go through, right? So, Ryan's got to take off, do some shopping. Hey, man.
Hey, Ryan, have a good day.
And Stop Ring of Power episode 4. Hey, you got 4 episodes more than me, bro. So, but no, I'm not trying to diss on House of Dragon. It would be like, again, there's not a lot of great content out there. It's like a top 10 list. Sure, it's going to make my top 10 list, but I think the offer is a far superior, engaging, engulfing experience, especially if you enjoy like that Hollywood drama of how they make movies and you understand the politicking. Yes. If you're into that kind of film nerd type stuff, this show is going to knock your socks off. I mean, you are just going to be like, I can't wait for the next video. And I'll warn you, Gray, there are people that have completely missed the mark. They're the main character, and she's his secretary. And it's played that she does all these different things. And I have heard people completely lie about how woke this series is, and they've gone woke, and this woman really existed. And after The Godfather, he helped her start a talent agency. That's how freaking good she was. She just passed away long ago. Now, is it been exaggerated for the show? Maybe. Most likely. But we can't get carried away by just trying to throw the woke label on everything and demean everything whenever there is
that's become a big problem, hasn't it? Yeah, you're right. So people who are generally like, as you say, a really strong female character, it's like, they just did that because of current climate. It's like, no, these people actually existed.
Right, and maybe in some elements they did. Like, Francis Ford Coppola's wife, I think, has a scene that's very exaggerated. But it also feels like something that could have happened behind the scenes, like maybe not other people in the room kind of thing. Like there's certain moments that you feel like, okay, are they trying to elevate some of the female presence in the character? Sure, maybe they are. But to me, the essence of it and so much of it is rooted in even the stuff that's exaggerated. There's other stuff that's this scene in this restaurant's exaggerated. It didn't really happen. It's like, okay, well, it kind of happened. This is what happened, but So I know. I thought the show was fantastic. I love your take on it when you watch it. I think you're going to have a hard time putting it down, kind of thing. It's going to be so engaging. It doesn't waste time. Cliffhanger after cliffhanger because the production is a freaking miracle.
Oh, it'll make you
it'll make you
looking forward to it now.
It'll make you appreciate The Godfather on the next level.
Even more, yeah.
Oh,
wow.
No, I can't even tell you. I rewatched it again, and there's these little moments they reenact and things like that, and you're just like, oh man, I love this movie so much more now because it was already a 10 for me. Like The Godfather 1 and 2, and I put them together. I know people tick you off, and they want you to pick one. I said I refuse. It's one big story. I'm sorry.
1 and 2.
There's just one story. It's really
Not
one
3.
big giant.
Not
what
3
is this?
pops.
What is this 3 you're talking about? What are you talking about?
It's a rumor. It's a myth.
There's only 2 Godfather movies. But I don't know what this list. It's like this Matrix stuff. People keep talking about all these other Matrix films or something. I'm like, I don't. There's only one Matrix film. I don't know. So.
Indiana Jones, only 3.
Highlander, there can only be one. There can only be one. So no, I would recommend The Offer. I think it's been great. But I thought Stranger Things season 4 was superior to House of Dragon. And other people were like, oh, no, how can you say that? I'm like, because you're a crazy person. Can you not understand how great the writing and the payoffs were in Stranger Things compared to the lack of payoffs in House of Dragon? Like, House of Dragon has just strung us along. And not just one little piece, like a whole bunch of storylines for episodes after episodes.
You're not wrong, Pops. You're not wrong. I just got pulled in by some of the performances I thought were really good. And I like the whole core intrigue kind of storyline. I like those anyway, so...
Well, I love the political drama stuff, right?
Yeah,
this is what and this is what, because I mean, let's be honest, right? Game of Thrones was not for me, right? So I am literally fast forwarding through sequences. I don't need to watch that. Oh God, Lord help me! I got to scrub this out of my. I just no. But when it comes to like the political drama and the intrigue and the backstabbing and the conspiring,
that's good.
And the first 3 seasons were just gold. Gold. And then season 4, once they changed Tyrion, right? It's a completely different character, like on a dime. And we lost because he was like us walking around in this universe. Like he was kind of our, messed up character that he was our avatar, like the messed up avatar that we could kind of be in this universe and cheer for. And, and then it just got all distorted starting in season 4 and just kind of kept deteriorating. But there were some great battle sequences, and there were still some crazy things that they didn't mind doing. I got to be honest, House of Dragon was very subdued. It was very a Game of Thrones light, like that
Yeah,
whole
fair enough.
Me Too era. Like it's okay to have bloody childbirth where we do all sorts of crazy stuff, but we don't want to show TNA anymore. I just find that very just almost laughable. I'm like, yeah, we can kind of see what you're doing there. You really, you're not really, shocking or surprising us. So, but so obviously we'll kind of start wrapping up a little bit with your thoughts here. So Batman, Spider-Man, Spawn. What else are you reading? I know you've been doing some book reviews and stuff. What's going on?
Especially with Halloween, approaching. I've been reading or rereading some classic horror. I've also got back into William Gibson, Pops. I'm a huge fan of his books, and I don't know if you knew, there's an adaptation of one of his books called The Peripheral, which just dropped on Amazon Prime. Only 2 episodes came out. It's a kind of little bit futuristic sci-fi, but very, very interesting.
Okay, that's good to know. I like that. Yeah. Okay, that's good. So you've been doing that. What else is on the radar screen for Gray and stuff you got coming up and that you're into right now?
What else? Well, you mentioned book reviews. Yeah, I've got a book review blog. I've been doing that for maybe, I think it's 6 years now, and I've got all this content. I think I should make these into videos. I think that could be a good thing. Like, you've got what you call evergreen content if you're covering things which people are always going to be checking.
Sure.
So look, but it's time, Pops. Don't know about you. Doing 2 or 3 comic book reviews a week plus a weekend live stream or 2. I've got no time for anything else. It's like, working full time is tough, isn't it? As you know.
Yeah. I have this 2-world thing going on where it's just like this crash course for 3 nights where it's basically this is all I do, and and then so it's just like this is the job for like these 2 nights, 2 days, whatever. And then I usually have stuff I edit over the weekend and upload and play around with, stuff like that. I will say I've been experimenting with StreamYard. And for those of you, I said this last night. So to record a video like the one I just did before we talked, what I'll do is set it all up like a live stream. And I'll go ahead and hit record, play my intro, say my piece, play my outro, and end the record. And then I have a video that's done. I don't have to do any editing. I just let it ride. Now,
awesome. Is that working pretty well for you?
I am. I would also recommend drafting them like ahead, like schedule them when you upload them to like 2 days from now. That way you get through all of the copyright clearance and all that and on, just in case something got by you. Like I had a video where for some reason now the music is claimed. I don't know why. I've used it before, never had a problem. But today it was not this video today, but that day it was claimed. So I had to delete it, change the music, and do it again. Which is fine, but that way you don't have to deal with the claims and all the other nonsense.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So anyway, I found that's my new trick with using StreamYard to my advantage of time management. I've got my thoughts put together. I got to do it. I'm ready to go. Kind of like a live stream would be, but I do it as like my video structure, so I don't have to do as much editing as I used to in that regard. That helps some. And just meticulous scheduling, I just kind of do. But it is tough. It's definitely tough taking new stuff, like you were saying, trying to fit it in, finding time. Because time is our biggest limitation. We all have the same amount of time, and what we do with it is the biggest challenge, that's for sure. So, well, I mentioned it. I'll be on with Ryan next Wednesday. So that'll be fun. 6 p.m. Eastern time with the Machine. I'll be on there. My goodness, Lord help him. He's going to want to ask all these deep, probing origin questions. And for this old man, I've been doing this crap for a long time in various ways. Tuesday's Talk Hard. You mentioned watching Talk Hard. So our next one's going to be Fifth Element. So we do Fifth Element on Tuesday night. And then the week after, we're going to do like traditions, like holiday. It's got, Thanksgiving into Christmas, different traditions, stuff we watch, stuff we do, things like that. It came to me because here in the States, they're not airing the Charlie Brown It's a Great Pumpkin special this year because of rights issues. So I was like, we should kind of touch on that. And then I thought about, what else are you guys watching? Because Chris Persian made this little special thing. I'll play it because you'll understand the reference growing up with our era. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Here we go. Remember that when we were kids? Like that would play. I don't know if they had that over in the UK and stuff when you were young or not. No.
No, but a similar kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Cheesy
Just the
graphics.
music. Oh,
Mhm,
come on,
mhm.
man. It's
Yeah,
so
so
good.
that was like the thing that would happen before all those like the Rankin and Bass claymation stuff and things like that. That would be the little logo would play with those things. So yeah, he did it for me. So oh yeah, I'm all about my retro crap. People are teasing me about my new Popspective introduction thing, which I don't think I did for the Nightmare on Elm Street one that I did. I just forgot that I made that new intro, but I found the movie theater that I used to work for in the 80s and 90s, and they're out of business. So I stole a little clip from that to make a new little intro. So, yeah, man, just roll through it, make some content. Next time we'll be on your channel. We'll do something.
Yes,
figure that out. Yeah,
definitely, we have to. Yeah, that'd be great.
That'll give me a chance to catch up a little bit on a few of these things now that I have access to the DC side. And I've tried to find some value with like the Amazing Spider-Man thing. Like, it's not bad. I can read this. And that's how I felt. I felt it's not bad. I could read this. Where there are other things, I couldn't even get through. There's other things. Mostly because I knew they were. I knew how bad they were, and I tried to give them a fair shake, and they were even worse than I expected. Like the X-Men stuff you're talking about,
it's terrible. It's just gone right off.
I can't even look at it.
A lot of it's to do with the writers who they put on some of those books. God, I don't know.
They're like children. They're like the story. The stories are written like I feel like I'm grading a middle schooler's paper. Like it's so badly done. I did a review before I started doing Pops, the video. I did an article for a site I own because we really didn't do comic book stuff on there, but I said I wanted to try to do one to see if it would get any traction or not. Like, and basically I did a hit piece on the fact that they did that Trial of Magneto.
Oh yeah,
you heard Trial of Magneto? There is neither. There is neither a trial nor is it about Magneto. There was never a trial. They were going to have a trial. They never have a trial, and it has nothing. It's Magneto's a complete bait and switch for it to be about Scarlet Witch. And I couldn't believe this. It was so shockingly deceiving. I just couldn't believe it. Every time I think about it, I get angry because I feel like all you did was just rip people off. Because it's always, obviously with the title and all the innuendo, you think, okay, well, the next issue, we'll get into the trial. We'll see the consequences of his act. We'll get into the... No, it just kept going. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And it's kind of how I feel with what you were saying earlier about Zeb Wells. It's like, are we ever going to know what's in this box? Are we ever going to know what the hell's going on here, buddy? Like, and at some point, you're just going to lose reader. You're just going to be like, oh, okay, I'm good. I'm out. And that's the problem with some of these series. They just don't. I don't know. I just want to have an fun time.
Pops, one more recommend. Just remember, but before we finish, one more from DC. Bruce Campbell of the Evil Dead fame is writing Sergeant Rock versus the Army of the Dead. Now, issue 1 came out a month ago. Issue 2 just dropped on Wednesday. Really good. Sergeant Rock versus zombies. Come on.
Oh man! And Bruce, I just come off of rewatching Evil Dead because I hadn't really, I don't do a lot of this stuff, but yeah.
He actually writes pretty well as well. For an actor, he writes it well.
No, Decepticon, we understand. And we're trying to give some folks some ideas of some that are not super terrible or things like that. Like that's kind of basically our shtick at this point. Bad Idea Comics and Judge Dredd. Yeah, trust me, we understand. So, and Dynamite Comics Reanimator versus Army of Darkness. Okay, cool.
Ooh, Judge Dredd, nice one, Decepticon. I'm a fan of Judge Dredd. I still read 2000 AD every now and then, and the magazine as well, Judge Dredd magazine.
Yeah, boy, we did a talk hard on Dredd. That was a fun night.
Oh yeah,
that was a good
movie.
The movie's way underrated. That's a way better script than it gets credit for. So yeah, no, but no, we don't. Like, I'm not out here banging the drum for modern comics, but I will say I'm willing to at least start trying to raise awareness like I am with movies when they start to do certain things right. Like if we don't ever try to encourage the good behavior, then they'll just keep sliding down to the... I don't think it's going to be salvageable anyway, Decepticon. I think once Warner Brothers, WBD, turns their eyes on DC Comics, all hell is going to break loose, bro. I'm still a firm believer that the best solution is probably to license most of it out.
Yeah.
It's a lot of purge, build from the ground up to say, okay, well, we're going to keep Batman. Here's our Batman. Okay, we need Batman. We need Superman. Okay, we need Superman. We need Wonder Woman. You build from there what you're going to keep. but you may end up with only like 15 or 20 titles. You don't need, 80. And you start licensing some stuff up. You're like, listen, I mean, I'm cheering for the thought that Ethan Van Sciver would have the money to license something that had to do with Green Lantern just to honk off the entire comic book universe, because that would make my day. I literally just hope that these people would have enough money, because that's what I would do. I would just find something I'd want to write, or find someone I'd find a way to, call Chuck Dixon and have him help me create something or whatever. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Well, my friend, this has been a blast. And thanks to all of you in chat, and those of you watching after the fact, feel free to hit us up with your comments and questions and that kind of thing. So, oh wait, I'm sorry, Decepticon made a comment about that issue about Drudge Predict Future, and they got a zombie one they did. I'm looking for. Okay, cool. Keep us posted. Take those pictures, man. He did a good job taking little shorts and stuff, showing off his stuff, because he had some cool stuff recently. He hadn't done videos. He did one for me. And I'm like, oh yeah, that was for me. Thank you, man. And that is freaking amazing. So, yeah, no, it's been good. It's been great to catch up with Gray. Totally a great channel to keep up with some of the stuff that's going on, giving you Gray is very optimistic. He tries to focus on the positive. He tries to say the glass is half full. What you'll find is when there's silence, that's Gray saying, okay, the glass is really not that full. But he's at least honest with you, and I trust him. And like, we can disagree over some of the semantics, but once we pull back the onion layers, we realize we don't really disagree. It's about degrees. It's about, it's like, yeah, John Romita's art. We like it, and we both can admit, but there are some panels. I need him to admit there's an intern involved. I need him to confess that he didn't do that panel, because I don't believe you. I don't believe he could do this cool scene over here, and then he does that. They're just, yeah. So, but that's the general shtick. We were able to do a little comic book talk around the globe, baby. Around comics around the globe. We should almost have like a little show called Comics Around the Globe or something.
Yeah.
This is so much fun to do this, and I'm actually happy to have the DC app too. So now I feel like I can actually have a more healthier diet of back and forth. Because that was my normal way when I'd read back in the day. You'd read a little Marvel, read a little DC, read a little indie, read a little Marvel. So I feel like I just haven't had the whole thing. So I'm going to try to take advantage of this app and read some old retro stuff. I'm going to do a little Halloween recommendation on. You read Batman Red Rain?
Yes, I actually did story. I did an audio book of that last Halloween. Ooh. Kind of audio, but just me reading the comic basically. I
should find that and put that a link.
Not very good. It's very early, Gray.
No, I will put that in. Put that link in my description. I do a little recommendation to that comic. It's a lot of fun. That comic's a blast.
That's a great comic. It's a great story, an Elseworld story. Yeah.
Yeah. There's 2 sequels to it, and I don't remember reading those. And I'm like, I gotta figure this out. I gotta get into this here. So that's gonna be my little side venture, and get into that kind of. So do that kind of stuff. Go back to the old and some of these standalone stories, like. I was trying to think of like Halloween recommendations for comics and stuff like that. And I'm such a nerd that I don't get into that kind of stuff. I'm not into the monsters and the creatures. And I kept talking about like Ghost Rider and Spawn and stuff like that. Or it would be more like me, not like horror comic books, really. Then I'm like, yeah, but Batman had like Red Rain. And then there's like Dark City, which was like a Riddler story. It was pretty dark. There's a couple others. I'm like, yeah. And so I don't know.
Gotham by Gaslight, Pops. Do you remember that one?
Yes, and I wanted to reread it. I couldn't find it on the app.
Mike Mignola, isn't it, drawing that?
Yes, I know. Early Hellboy stuff. There's another Hellboy something I recommend. Yeah, I couldn't find my copy. I have the box of the Elseworld stuff in its separate little thing, and it's probably on the bottom in my closet because it's not going to be a box that I go into much.
Got it somewhere, maybe.
Yeah. It's one of those things. So. All right, my friend. Thank you so much. Thanks to all of you in chat. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us this morning and talking comic shop and doing that kind of stuff. So it's been freaking great. It's so awesome. So appreciate what you guys do out there, generate your own content. And Gray, just keeping it up, man. Just stay strong. Talk hard, my friend. Talk hard.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Pops. It's been great.
You guys take care. And always remember to have a little bit of chill time. And here's Bob to remind you how.